prepare for the worst.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and in this video we have a little bit of a tease and inside look here for the Ahsoka show here, as we have a new explanation slash tease for the upcoming show. That there being said, let's go ahead and hop right on into it. In this video we are going to be taking a read from the Direct's article. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. As I read, Ahsoka Star explains why gender doesn't matter in this franchise and in this overall show here, specifically with the Ahsoka show. A newly revealed star of Disney Plus's Ahsoka has addressed the future Star Wars series all-female cast and why she didn't even notice it at that. Now, while Lucasfilm had long since announced Natasha Liu Bordizzo's role in the Rosie R. Dawson-led Ahsoka show as Sabine Wren in live action, it was at Star Wars Celebration in London that Mary Elizabeth Winstead was confirmed to be playing Hera Syndulla, and also gave us our first look at the character in the trailer. And so even though other Star Wars Rebels characters are expected to appear, like Ezra Bridger, and we also know that Thrawn is going to be in the show, probably, hopefully, fingers crossed for Zeb as well. We recently saw him in The Mandalorian Season 3 as a short cameo. Lucasfilm's Ahsoka's presentation suggested that this trio of women, that there being Sabine, Hera, and Ahsoka, all of the women are going to be the show's leads here, and the main characters throughout this overall show here. Now, granted, the female leads are nothing new in Star Wars, however, the same can't be said for three leading ladies, which is, according to Ahsoka's cast, is a revolutionary thing that isn't or wasn't necessarily in the news. At Star Wars Celebration, Hera Syndulla actress Mary Elizabeth Winstead confessed to TheWrap.com that she hadn't even noticed that Ahsoka was and has an all-female led kind of show and cast here for the most part, as I had mentioned, with the exception of, hopefully Zeb or Ezra Bridger and Thrawn as well. Saying that in full quote, "I was saying to Rosie R. Dawson that I really didn't even notice until we had been shooting for a little while that it was such a female-led show, because we never commented on it." I mean, that quote right there. And instead, Winstead had explained that it was just Star Wars, and that's why it was really revolutionary. Saying that in full quote, "It was just Star Wars. We're just all here making Star Wars." So one day, I'm like, oh my goodness, wait a second, this is really amazing. So there's something really revolutionary to me about the fact that we didn't even need to talk about it, ending that quote right there. So the Hera Syndulla star had also acknowledged that Star Wars started a trend with Carrie Fisher's Princess Leia, and now all of the years and projects later, it's a norm that we don't really need to call attention to, as these characters are transcend into this gender here and being the main cast and the main role here for the Ahsoka show. Saying that in full quote, "Star Wars started a trend starting with Princess Leia and has continued and has grown, and it's grown to the point where now that sort of thing doesn't really matter. Gender doesn't matter. It's Star Wars. We're all in this together." So there's something really special about a part of something like that we don't really need to call to attention to it, because these characters transcend gender in that way. I mean, that quote right there. Sabine Wren actress Natasha Liu Bordizzo had echoed her co-star's statement, saying that gender was a non-existent thing on the Ahsoka set and show, while also noting that the absence of pressure to look at it any kind of way, saying that in full quote, "I mean, gender is just such a non-existent thing for the portrayal of this warrior," and speaking specifically with her character of Sabine Wren. What I loved about it was that it was in full body armor with sometimes short hair through the whole show, so there was just no pressure to look any kind of way or be aware of gender roles. I was just very in my body, ending that quote right there from Natasha Liu Bordizzo. And even actress Katie Sackhoff, Bo-Katan Kryze in The Mandalorian, and also the voice actress of the character for the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels show, had also added her own comments to this overall conversation and topic of gender for when it comes to Star Wars. And so according to The Mandalorian star Katie Sackhoff, gender doesn't really determine who can inspire audiences, admitting that "I wanted to be Bruce Willis when I was a little kid," she says, saying that in full quote, "As the mother of a daughter, it is such a beautiful thing to know that she has so many different characters, women and men, to look to. We don't necessarily have to be inspired by somebody that's just our gender. I wanted to be Bruce Willis when I was a little kid," she jokingly says, ending that quote right there. And so the article continues that by saying that what does inspire Katie Sackhoff is good writing, good stories, and a character that we can fall in love with, saying that in full quote from Katie Sackhoff herself. And so, as long as there's good writing, good stories, and it's a character that we can fall in love with and root for, that's what inspires me. Ending that quote right there. So really, the overall takeaway here, and what all these different actresses are saying here, is that gender isn't really all that much of a thing in Star Wars to ever really even begin with, to a point, ever since the introduction of Princess Leia in the first Star Wars movie. I mean, women have always had a role in Star Wars to a point. And so it is something that doesn't really necessarily matter all that much, or that needs to be maximized all that much, with Katie Sackhoff even saying that as long as there's good writing and good stories, and it's a character that we can fall in love with and really want to root for, that is what inspires her. That's exactly what inspires me at the same time as well. And so I think even then, when you're thinking about it outside of the box, like outside of live action to a point, and when you think about these characters in their animated forms, their first introduction for Star Wars Rebels, and also Star Wars The Clone Wars, I mean, it was something that had never really been, or that really had never crossed my mind, quite personally, even at that. Growing up and being such a big fan of Ahsoka, of course, thinking that she was annoying, and she purposely was annoying to a point, to of course really resemble what we saw with a young Luke Skywalker in A New Hope, essentially. But growing up and now thinking about this, like realizing this, two of my biggest favoriteest characters in like Star Wars growing up and just in overall fiction and in TV shows was Ahsoka and was Bo-Katan Kryze, and it's something that had never really crossed my mind until, while recording and making this video and reading through this article even. That there being said, a rebel, a Mandalorian, and a Jedi. The article continues by reading that much like Mary Elizabeth Winston's own experience, the reality that the Ahsoka show features a female trio wasn't truly part of the public consciousness until Star Wars Celebration, and they had been asked about it. And in her words, the fact is revolutionary, but at the same time it's also just, well, Star Wars. From the beginning, George Lucas never wrote our sarcastic princess leading a rebellion, or a young female Padawan, Ahsoka Tano, holding her own against the Chosen One, as anything but, well, normal, and audiences responded in a kind. And so Dave Filoni continues this present in Star Wars Rebels, where Hera Syndulla's leadership skills and piloting prowess, as well as Sabine's Mandalorian ways, were treated as natural and not novel. Something that is simply just well written into the story, and to refer back to what Katie Sackhoff had said there, I think that she really does word it quite perfectly, saying that, in quote, as long as there's some good writing and good stories, and it's a character that we can fall in love with and want to root for, that's what really inspires her. That's exactly what inspires me, as I had mentioned. And as a result, leading up to the Ahsoka show on Disney+, Star Wars fans never saw an all-female cast. Well, to a point, as I had mentioned, I want to reiterate that at the beginning of this video, there are going to be other, just, other genders here, essentially, in this Ahsoka show, like Ezra, or like Thrawn, and maybe, hopefully, Zeb at the same time as well. And so once Ahsoka does premiere, hopefully the conversation remains focused on Filoni's good writing and good stories and good characters, rather than being pivoted towards, look at these characters, they're so powerful, they're so amazing, simply because, well, they're women. And so also, hopefully, the lack of conversation concerning the cast's gender is the only time it needs to be, well, discussed and asked about as Star Wars Celebration, as I had mentioned here. And I also want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. This video is no intent to hating or anything like that, or a diss or anything like that. I'm simply here covering the news and this little bit of an insight and tease here for the Ahsoka show, and I'm beyond excited about it. I'm so excited for the Ahsoka show, and also with what Katie Sackhoff had said there about as long as there's good writing and good stories and it's a good character that we can fall in love with and want to root for, I'm all for it, and I cannot wait for the Ahsoka show. And it also makes me a little bit hopeful that maybe we'll see even Bo-Katan show up and pop up somewhere in this show as well. After all, Sabine, Wren, and Bo-Katan are buddies. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys all think. What are you guys looking forward to seeing with the Ahsoka show most here? I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. And so I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Have a great one, guys. May the Force be with you as always. This has been Unofficial Star Wars. Peace out.